Hey, Fadzai.
I
Bra-
made it in time.
yeah, no, well done. Um, I mean, yeah, I didn't do anything. Douglas has done everything.
I was worried you'd have trouble trying to get in
yeah,
to
I
start the
thought,
meeting.
yeah, I thought it would ask me for like a sign-in code or something, and yeah, but thankfully it didn't.
Hi, Fatai, how you doing?
I'm all right, Douglas. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
How was
How's
Tanzania?
Nicaragua?
Oh,
Hot as hell. Yeah, every day is hotter.
But
Hey
but
Fazai.
that's the usual, right?
Well, it's hotter than
Hi.
usual.
Hi, Brandon. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
You at the Protela in Dar es Salaam?
Yeah, I'm at Protea.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Say hi to everyone for me.
Will do. You traveled okay?
Yeah. Yeah, no problems. That's always good.
Maybe if you need it. It's just
Oh, lovely.
All right. Well, did you get my text message about Michael?
Yes, yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. I responded.
Oh,
You didn't see
okay.
it?
Um, maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. I'll go look. Just do the best you can. He was very adamant
Okay.
that it was a unique opportunity for you. I'm like, I'm sure Fazai will do everything possible to. Lost her. All right. See you guys.
Okay. Yeah, so I sent Kogi a message.
Okay.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's 8 o'clock.
we'll wait a couple minutes
Yeah.
for people to join on. Hey, Joseph.
Hey, Joseph. How you doing?
Hi guys,
You doing all right?
I'm doing great.
Nice.
Good. I've missed the last two web.
No, you're all right. Don't worry.
Don't worry.
We'll have a quick recap about what we did, and then talking about this past unit as well.
Great. That would be great.
Oh, the internet's being a bit funky.
The internet?
Yeah, give me a sec. Yeah. Yeah, slow. Oh, I don't like this camera thing where it's constantly like zooms in, zooms
Yeah,
out,
some
zooms
zooms
in.
in, some out. Yeah.
It's just like if I disappear out, it'll go to you,
It gets.
and it just focuses on you.
yeah.
And then if I just come into the
But I
picture,
think when you set it up, it says like center or something like that, auto center or something like that. So if you click on or
yeah,
disconnect it or yeah, whatever.
Fat
Turn it
Zone.
off. Yeah, if you turn it off, then.
Fatsai's gonna get annoyed that
Yeah.
all her recording is just us being like, "This camera's weird. I don't like it."
Hey, do we have any of that bubble wrap anywhere? These big boxes that I bought.
I remember that there was, but
Yeah,
I
you
didn't
haven't seen it
find
for a
it.
while?
Yeah, I haven't seen it for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll do. We'll give it a couple more minutes, guys, and then then Douglas will go through with any questions that you guys might have.
Yep.
Just because there's only 4 or 5 of us. Keep on forgetting that we're 2.
have any protection for the screen?
No,
I've broken twice.
I'm just more careful than you are.
No, dude. I mean, like seriously. The other day I was working under a tree
Yeah.
And then
Why
there
would
was a
I
thing
work under a tree?
because there was no other place. I was in Haiti,
That sounds like a you problem.
dude.
I wouldn't work under a tree. Well, if a fruit falls down on it, like Isaac Newton or whatever, and then
It wasn't a
it's like
fruit,
instead
it
of my
was-
head, it'll be the laptop.
It was just a leaf, but it was a huge long leaf.
Oh, and it literally cracked the screen.
Yeah, it cracks it. It falls over here and it cracks it like that. Yeah. So that's why I've been really careful now with the screens. Then the second one, it was like just a little tiny particle that falls over there. I didn't realize it when I close it.
Why does it zoom in on me? I mean, we can start now, and then when people join in.
Yeah, I mean we can like. It's yeah 04.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's one more.
All right, morning everyone. I guess we'll have a quick start at it, and then as people join in, we'll just carry on. And then if anyone has any questions throughout, sorry about the noise behind us. If anyone has any questions throughout, please do ask. This is more for your guys' benefit, and hopefully we can have a good conversation in terms of trying to help one another with any issues that we might have, or to talking about experiences and sharing it to avoid any experiences that we have had, like we were chatting about last week.
Yeah. So welcome to y'all, the three of you guys. For the ones that were in the past presentations, I am Douglas.
And I'm
This is
Josh, and Fadzai is the other facilitator who's also on the screen.
Yep. We are part of Hydrologica's team, and our role is to, like, as a matter expert here in this course. We're going to talk about today Unit 3, and this is kind of like a bridge between, the planning of a project on paper and having a signed biddable contract on hand. So maybe Judge, you can give us a recap from last week for Joseph that was in here.
Yeah, so we looked at like Odessa, and then we're looking at the whole 7 stages of procurement. So we're looking about how would it look like as managing a team, but also looking at how from when you're looking at, I want to get a borehole here, what are actually all the steps that I need to consider before that? And then it doesn't just stop at drilling a borehole, but there's actually a few steps afterwards that you need to think about in terms of what is the final documentation that we want to get, and the handover as well, and obviously also like cleaning up the site. So we're looking at like pre-site selection, seeing what sort of things we could do beforehand. If we're looking at bids for the teams, we've just uploaded a document onto the course as well, which was Fadzai talked about very briefly about like when it comes to contract selection and giving the good company bids, having like a company profile. So I think it's like a 4-page document that I think Catherine's now put on our course, which looks about for every single company that you might have going through a bidding process. You can put everything from like team members' experience, biggest drill bits that they have, so you know which company would be the best or would be more suited for your borehole that you're looking to get drilled. Because some people might be the middle contractor that we found out that we'd never heard about, and they actually don't have the drill rig, and you want to deal with the actual drilling company. So then it helps you with getting that documentation in place so that your contract can be the most stable as possible.
Yeah, and so as part of one of the steps of that is the procurement plan, right? So it's pre-bids activities that help us to create a process where we do a good selection by providing good information to the providers, so they can bid appropriately, right, for the project. Has anyone here inherited a drilling contract that it was unclear about payments or term scopes or something like that? Have you ever been a part of a bidding contract? for drilling supervision or for drilling in general?
Yeah,
Yes.
Joe. Yes, I've also encountered where we had a contractor had signed a contract upon mobilizing, not mobilizing per se, but they're preparing to mobilize. Then you see they're not showing up, they're not turning up, only to say, I feel we cannot deliver based on what we committed to do. So something like that. So we kept wondering in the first place. We had moved all the stages until you put a pen to the contract, and now they're not coming forthwith. Only also to realize that no, some of the guys maybe they didn't have proper equipment, something like that.
Yeah. So that's sometimes. I'm sorry, my amigo. Yes.
Yes, I've also encountered a similar situation whereby I was I was on this project and we found that after the contract has already been given and it was not clear in terms of what happens if in case they hit a dry well and in the end it was all arguments failing to agree on what will happen. Are we supposed to pay the contractor for the dry hole, or what are the logistics like? So in the contract it was not very clear in terms of what happens when they hit a dry well. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that we've all faced the same things. Contracts that are not well prepared or or we didn't do any pre-bidding process, right? And then that brings disputes because it brings a vague scope or missing contract terms leave rooms for disagreements, as you are mentioning, because it wasn't stated clear in the contract who was going to be in charge or what was going to be the fee if a failed borehole it's completed, right? Or it can comes also to delays, incomplete specification forces, retendering or costly changes or their orders made project. I got it here, don't worry. And then also quality problems. Pre-qualification leads under-equipped constructor win and then underperform on site. And I've faced all of those, right, in the past that we don't have a good contract, a good bidding process, and then we end up with the wrong contractor in the end. So here is the timeline or a timeline plan for the 24 weeks process that we are suggesting you, right? So first is prepare all the documents, specs, and budgets, right? So all the documents we talked about last week about doing a site investigation, investigation on where the water is, what's the depth that we're going to go. So all that must be documented, right? And prepare on a document for the contractors so they can read it. And then they know all the specs of what we're looking for, right? So if it's going to be a 14-inch borehole or a 4-inch borehole, whatever it is, I mean, all the specs we need to write it down on the document and prepare it for the contractors and make sure that all the contractors have the same documents. So the process is clear and then there's no shortcuts for anybody, right? Then we advertise the pre-qualification. So first in 2 weeks is preparing the documents. The third week is advertise the pre-qualification. The fifth week is receive all the applications. So you already hand out the advertise and then you receive all the applications from all the bidders that you have. It could be like 4 or 10 contractors.
Sometimes it could just be one.
Or sometimes it could just be one.
You might not have the option.
Yeah. But I mean, that means that he understands, the scope and he understands that what's the responsibility he's facing. And then the sixth and ninth week, evaluate the application. So who is the bidder, right? Who is applicating over here? Not the bidder yet, but who is the contractor that wants to be the provider for us, right? How long have they been working? Do they have experience? They have the equipment. So you evaluate the applications.
That's where that company profile document that we were chatting about last week comes into play as well. Because then, if you have all that for every single company that you've looked into, and even if it is a new company appeared and then they're like, hey, we're interested in drilling, during this post period of time, you can go to that company and check out what their capabilities are as well.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And then if they don't have the capability, right? So if you're asking for 1,000 feet well, borehole, right? And it's this very small drilling rig, and they only have one method of drilling. Probably that's not the best bidder or contractor. So you eliminate it on this phase. This phase is a time for you to evaluate them and also do a pre-elimination process for the ones that are not going to be qualified for your project, right? Then 11 to 14 week is bidding period, right? So you hand out the documents that you've already prepared. You give them all the requirements that you need, the scope of work, and then it's time for them to prepare their bid and give it to you. So bid opening ceremony, you bring them down, you introduce yourself to them, hand them the documents, tell them it's going to be the 15 weeks, so you tell them it's going to be, you have 2 weeks to present all your bids, right? And if you have any questions, you have this time frame to ask all your questions if you want to. And then by the time is completed, then you need to have your bids for us. Then once you receive it, you evaluate the bids and verify the info, right? It's not just trusting or blind trusting them, but you also have to verify. So if they say that they've been open for 10 years, they need to have a record in the government that they've been like working for 10 years. So you check on that. If they give you references, call them and verify that the information that they're giving you, it's accurate. Sometimes even their references can tell you if they did a good job or if they did a poor job or if they completed on time as it was agreed. So all those questions should come out over there, because you can end up choosing someone that is not responsible for the timelines or is not responsible for the quality of the materials that they're using. So that time it's you can evaluate all that, right? And then the 19th week, you select the winner and approval. Then you award the contract, and finally the 21st to the 24th week, the activity starts. The drilling activity starts. Do you have any comments? Have you ever seen this type of process before?
So, Joa, in terms of the weeks that you've provided, it's clear. But is this a standard? Because sometimes you may be working under the instructions of a donor. So, okay, maybe based on this requirement, I don't think we can say before bidding, no, between bid opening ceremony to the evaluation, another week and something. Can we compress this, provided we have we've touched on all important aspects, or this is a minimum requirement?
Actually, it's not written in stone. You can adjust it to your reality. I cannot speak in behalf of your reality because mine is different, right? So you can adjust it to your own reality, and if you know that there are less bidders or less companies that can provide you with the service, or it's easier in your country to get the materials in all the countries, you can adjust it to your own reality. We just don't want you to cut corners on this.
Yeah.
Every single step needs to be accomplished, and you cannot move forward to the next one without accomplishing one of the steps, right?
It's like, for example, we are also a drilling company, so for us, it's we don't do any of that bidding, having to
So
put out bids and everything, because we are the ones doing the drilling. But we still will do the site surveys beforehand. We'll get all of our paperwork in place. We have to make sure that the government paperwork as well is in place as well before we start drilling. So we are still going through the whole, I guess paperwork is probably the right word to put it.
Yeah.
And getting our document specs, even with the budgets, because that's what we get limited to as well. But then I guess for us, we don't have that week 3 to week 14, where we're trying to like fight against other companies and getting the bids.
Also, for instance, we since there is no provider for most of the drilling consumables and materials in here, we import for the year. So we don't need to go like quoting for a specific project. So if that's the case, then for us it's shorter, but for other companies it might take longer because they need to find out who's gonna provide them with the bentonite, who's
Yeah.
gonna provide the casing.
It's like the suppliers having to contact
Yes.
all of them and get all the quotes there to figure out the best prices for your budget. Might take longer, might take shorter if you
Yeah.
only have one company that can do that, compared to, for example, us to get all of our casing and tubing, there's like 6 to maybe 8 companies. So we're comparing every single one of them as well. So that takes longer than some other places where it's just we only have one company that we can go to. So there are different areas that are less and more. Yes, Fadzai.
Yeah, so also what could help sometimes is to have the pre-qualification done well before. So you know that you're anticipating a project that has some borehole drilling that is there. So what you do is you actually go through the process of pre-qualification. Of course, maybe at that point you are not sure in terms of the depth of the boreholes, but you can have a range you can sort of ask for. So for example, maybe your maximum is 200 meters. You can work around that. And also just to make sure a range of different suppliers who can do different borehole depths, borehole diameters, etc., and also different drilling methods. So when you already have, like some organizations will do the pre-qualification at the beginning of the year, so that when the time
What's going on?
those that we've already pre-qualified for. Some will even pre-qualify for the next 2 years. So they know when the time comes they want to drill, they're actually just pulling from the people they've already pre-qualified. They know the equipment they have, they know how deep they can go, they know the diameter they can do, they know the experience and everything. So they're now sort of choosing from that pool of pre-qualified suppliers. So that's another way of shortening the process as well.
Great. Thank you very much, Fadzai. Does anyone have any other questions about procurement plans? Yeah.
Yes, my amigo.
Mine is more of just a comment, just agreeing with what Fazai has been saying. She has been saying, because I've experienced that at one of the NGOs that I was working for, they would do pre-qualify all the suppliers for all the services that are within the project, like at the beginning of the year. For example, for drilling, then we would have maybe pre-qualify 3 contractors or 4 contractors, and then when the time comes, maybe most of the times, like in Malawi, we usually drill boreholes between May, June, after the rainy season. That is May up to December. So by that time, it means you have already pre-qualified them earlier in the year, and then now it's just asking for it is you start from the bidding invitation of bids, like in May and the like, after you have already done the pre-qualification earlier in the year. So it makes everything maybe a bit simple than maybe to start like in May. You start from the beginning, and then to the whole process up to the end. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, no, it definitely saves a lot of time that way.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, Okumu.
Yes, thank you so much. But I've also seen the phase that you have given. We don't have like due diligence. Sometimes we pre-qualified contractors, which is fine. But it's also very important that because if you send an advertisement for pre-qualification, normally there are several bidders that really respond to your bid. And in a number of cases, let's say you have 10 of them, and you wanted to zero down, say to 4 or 5. So much as you could have selected 4 or 5, it's also very important that you need to move and also do due diligence on these contractors, visiting their premises, checking their equipment and other things else, such that you are sure that the bidders that you are going to pre-qualify, the companies that you are going to pre-qualify, are people who are qualified, and you don't end up, like the colleagues have actually been saying, that, you give them a contract, but, they don't have the capacity. So that means during the pre-qualification process, there was no due diligence that was really done. So I think it is important that much as we pre-qualified bidders, it's also good to do due diligence to make sure that during that time when we have, the projects, we shall only give to those that we have pre-qualified, but also we are sure of their what, of their capacity. But also, companies also, they change. Today, 2 or 3 years, a company may be good, but sometimes changes in management, they may not be at the same level. So, like my colleague said, Mr. Mwenda, that some organization they pre-qualified, for 2 years. After 2 years, a lot of what has passed through the bridge. There's a lot of changes. Those that you are pre-qualifying, you need to do due diligence. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for that. As in, there's nothing worse than we're saying all this, but then you don't go check on the actual company, and it's just based off of maybe what they've seen online or from a video that they've shown you, rather than actually seeing all their capabilities. So I think that's also where that company profile comes into place, the document, where it tries to make it as detailed as possible, from how many rods do they have, what drill bit sizes, what different types of drill bits do they have, are they able to do the 2 different types of drilling depending on what the ground is, depending on your geology.
Even simple things as how their screen is. Like, is it factory made? Do they fabricate it in their shop? How they doing to fabricate it? We've seen like horrible cases of 2 slots in one casing pipe, which is not allowing enough water to enter. So, and that's because we didn't like that. The person didn't do like a pre-qualification process. They never ask about the materials and stuff like that. And then companies are always looking for cutting corners to keep
their costs
down
to
exactly.
make as much profit as possible as well.
Yeah.
So I think that is absolutely true, that you not only do you have to do due diligence beforehand, but then also while they're drilling, also making sure that standard is being kept.
Yeah.
Because a company can easily show you the gold star that they have beforehand, and then when you go there, you're like, this was nothing that we were shown. So you want to make sure that standard is kept throughout the whole time as well, to ensure that you get the best, most productive borehole at the end of it as well.
The next one. So let's talk about how do we prepare the documents in scope, right? So the scope of work, what the contractor must deliver, where, and which geological environment. And this is really important because it goes back to the selection of the drilling company, right? If there is a company that doesn't have, that only drills one way and then one type of drilling, one methods, they're not going to be able to face different geological environment, right? So you got to make sure that you fit the drilling company for the purpose that you're needing it. So if you're going to drill through a hard formation, you need a company that has a good enough compressor, a hydraulic hammer or even a tricon beat, right? But if instead you're going to drill through an unconsolidated formation, you need a totally different setting of company or drilling rig, right? And in most cases, some companies don't have the two type of methods, so that's why it becomes important to set the scope so they understand what are they going to face. So the lot determination only will apply when you have a multi borehole program. If it's only for one borehole, you don't need to. But if it's for a different, projects, 2-3 wells, then you're gonna have to do a lot determination. Then the technical specifications. So the borehole requirements, depth, diameter of the bit, type of drilling, the materials that they're gonna use, the installation and development, how long is the development is going to take, what are you expecting after the development, for instance, the pump test, how long is it going to, are you going to do the pump test for, what's your desirable pumping rate, right? And then the quality test, who's going to do it. And so you set all of those technical specifications during that process or in that document. The bill of quantities. It is important to set a bill of quantities because if you don't go to the depth that the geological investigation determined because you find enough water previews or they didn't have enough bars or the equipment didn't reach that depth, then you're only going to be charged for, right, that quantity of feet, for instance, that they drill. Right, so the bill of quantity will help you to, like, in case of if you need to, when you do a geological investigation, you have a rate of success, right? It could be 20% more or less, right? It's not written in stone. So if it's less, then you're only charged for the amount of feet they drill. And if you have to go more, then you can negotiate with them if they're going to charge you the same fee or they're going to charge you a different fee for the extra 20% for it, for instance. The drawing, it talks about site plans and borehole design, cross-selection, how do you want to be the design of the borehole, the conditions of the contract as far as payment terms, timelines, and penalties. If they cannot reach the debt, for instance, what's the penalty that they're going to get, right? And the budget and payment schedule. You can set milestones, right? Once you, pre-mobilization, you get 10%. Once you get to the site, once you accomplish, like half of the well, you get the other 20%, and then you set, the milestones of how you're going to pay them, and then the existing hydrogeological and geological studies. You have to share with them so they understand, the why, where did that comes from, why do you want that diameter, and what's the geological condition that they're going to face.
Sorry, I just skipped. Does anyone have any questions about like the scope and project documents on this side? This is all a bit more on the vague side because it depends on how your company or the organization that you work for, how they want to set it out, because everyone does it slightly differently. And depending on the drilling contractors that you work with, they will also have it differently as well, of how they expect. And that's where the negotiation comes in of, are we in accordance with this? And that's why that contract is set out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to emphasize that it is really very important that we really spend a lot of time on preparation of the document, and we also define the scope very, very clearly. Because this is where, in most cases, sometimes, if it is not prepared well, it can actually lead into a number of disputes. So this is an area that each and everyone should really invest, a lot of time to make sure that what is prepared is something, that it protects both the organization and the contractor. It should not be vague. It should be specific to the point, such that the contractor knows what, the roles and responsibilities are, and also the penalties to it. In most cases, some of these documents, maybe for some, if it is okay, contractors have been having challenges, especially for some organization, or people just, copy and paste technical specifications from A to B. So you find that in such case, in case of disputes, there's going to be a number of challenges. What I would like just to emphasize here is this is a time when a lot of work is needed and time need to be invested, and a number of reviews need to be done from different, people, such that you pass through different eyes. If there is any problem somewhere, it has to be, arrested immediately before it becomes a very expensive mistake during implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. That is absolutely true.
All right. So this is an example of payment schedule, right? It's tied to milestones, as I already said it, right? So an advance of 10% for when you sign in, that the contractor could use it for covering the mobilization costs and stuff like that. And then, well, this is tied up to when you have multi-borehole, but you can also create it for achievable goals, right? So if you drill, if it's going to be a 200 feet well, for instance, once you drill 100 feet, I'm going to give you another 20%, for instance, right? Once you finish the whole drilling, I'm going to give you the other 20. And then once you do the casing, and then by, activities, you can be scheduling the payment.
We would just like to clarify, this is an example, not a rule that you have to follow. It is whatever you come into an agreement with your drilling contractor or your organization, how they want to do it. This is just showing that there are different options. There isn't one set way of doing it.
The only thing that we would not recommend you is to tie the payment to a calendar date, because this will protect you if a contractor is trying to drill slowly for any reason, right? So this will keep him motivated to keep the calendar that they already given you, right? But as far as setting milestones, you can set it as it's more convenient for you.
And also, complications will happen in the field.
Yeah.
So it's, if you do what Douglas was saying, where in 10 days time you give 20% or whatever, it's, if a complication happens and they've only done 10% of what you were expecting them to do, then that isn't really fair on the organization either who's paying it.
Yeah. So we talk about verification of the contractors, right? I've worked with contractors who had impressive websites. I've seen them, I've seen now that we have the Facebook and all the social media,
everything.
you see the videos, and they create beautiful videos of how they work, but the reality behind that is different, right? So that's why we need to do a good job, right, on selecting, the contractors. And this is a very common failure mode, right? You get caught up by a really nice advertisement, you get caught up by a really nice webpage and stuff like that, and then that tends you to not verify their previous works, right? So always do a verification of the references they give you, because through that you get the reality of how they work or not, right? In one case, I was helping someone to get a contractor, and then we verified, the references, and they were like, yes, they finished the job and everything, but after a while the well collapsed, and then it was because they didn't use the proper type of casing, for instance. they didn't know that there was a different type of casings. So that comes out, and bring up like different type of problems in the future. So the minimum criteria of pre-qualified potential bidders, right? It's registration and licensing if it's available in your country, because not all countries have a license requirement. But if it's available, it is good for you to check their registration and licensings, track the record as at least for 5 projects, the last 5 projects or bigger projects that they have done, and as for the references, right? And then also, this is really common, equipment ownership. I don't own the equipment, but I offer the service. So I subcontract, right? If you can avoid drilling with that type of companies, it's better. If they don't own the equipment, you don't know what type of equipment you're gonna get, and you cannot be certain that you're gonna get the best quality of the job in the end. Then the financial capacity, and then the references. Always, as I've been talking, go to the references and ask for, their opinion on how they did the work.
And sometimes you will have the company just not give you their failures, though.
Yeah.
And will only give the positive ones, and then that also becomes a bit hard to judge. Yeah. Sorry, that was just in my head, just being like, that was a recent company, that we had to deal with. Any questions about like the pre-qualifying sets, looking at potential bidders? Again, not set in stone, because obviously like minimal annual turnover and stuff might be different country to country depending on costs and everything. Yeah, Joseph.
Thanks so much. It's coming out clearly. On financial capacity, I know one element we're looking at the minimum annual turnover, as you've indicated there, but also a bank support letter. Should this letter be a generic one that they have included in the bid, or it can be part of the submission to the evaluation committee to say, yes, this company, we're backing it, that they're financially viable, and you guys, you can proceed to hire them? Should this letter be a generic one where they'll be, pasting in each and every submission? Maybe they're going to your company, they're going to Fazais, they're going to me, or it should be specific, addressed to us?
I think it should be specifically addressed to you as a requesting company or requesting customer. What was that?
I think also, though, it's like if you can have it with the proof of ownership and they are actually legally registered as well,
sure, yeah,
then that also does help in the, I don't want to say legitness, I don't think that's a real word, like legality of the company, like being genuine, rather than a subcontractor or someone that has no access to anything, no actual legal documents, no bank statements or anything. It's just more you are trying to show that the company, that they're trying to prove to you that they are a real company. And if they might not have, like, I don't know, a valid drilling license, because that isn't a real thing in a country, but they do have the bank support statement and the proof of ownership, then it gives you more comfort being able to carry on with the bidding contract, rather than not having anything at all, and then next thing you know, you send money to a bank account that isn't registered to them, but it's someone that they know or something, and then they just disappear, which has also happened with a few people that we know, where they've just left the drill rig and disappeared off with the money, because they didn't show any of this actual documentation. I don't know if that answers the question. It is, you're trying to make this as safe and legal as possible with this. Yes.
Yes, so I think because Joseph was asking that should the bank like write a generic, letter, like kind of to whom it may concern, which I think it may not be possible, because the bank would want to deal with specific, entity, and you should also show, proof that, you have a contract with this organization, such that the right specified to the organization, or you are bidding for a contract for this organization, of which you have an advertisement that you know you can have it, but the bank is not going to accept to write any blank, like an open check, or this person is with us. Anybody can give a job to him. We cannot. It need to be specific.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It helps both, right? Because it helps me, understand your or the contractor's financial situation, but also it helps them as where they're going to receive the money, right? They need to prove the bank where they receive it from. So it helps both. It serves both purposes. So it would be better if it's direct, addressed to the person who is asking, right? So if I am a non-profit organization or a private asking for that document, say it should be directed to me or written to.
When possible.
Yeah, when possible.
I hope that answers your question, Joseph.
Joseph?
Great.
Okay. Good.
Very helpful.
So I think we can skip this one. Call reference, visit past projects, inspect equipment. So the last time I did one, I visited actually real projects that the companies were drilling, right? So it was like a month ago, I was looking for a company for another nonprofit. And I asked them to visit their facilities, and they were so happy to bring me to actual projects that they were drilling. So I was able to see them in action. So how clean was the area, how well organized were there, how the equipment is working. And then actually I saw one company that they had oil leakage as they're drilling. So that helped me to just like eliminate them from the process and move forward with the other 2 or 3 companies that had like a good equipment, that it wasn't leaking or anything.
Yeah, so when you can, not when you can, you want to verify as much as possible with all these companies, but sometimes all you might be able to get is a call reference because they might not have any drilling projects at the moment to be able to go inspect.
But also always inspect the equipment, always visit their facilities, go and see how they keep their equipment, how they maintain it, if it's clean, if the hoses are in good condition, if the bits are in good shape. We have like older bits that looks like from far they can look good, but if you inspect them, then their blades are wore out and stuff like that. And so you gotta be able to see that, check it out, and tell them, okay, so if you're using this bit, you're not going to be working.
It's what you were saying about you want to do your due diligence with that company, making sure that they are capable of doing the job that you're going to ask them to do. And that is what this verification in practice is about.
Yeah, so as John Okumi has already indicated, but also you've indicated in your statement, it entails when we are at this level, we don't have to entertain those companies that they'll say they will subcontract or they'll hire, because it means we will not have a chance to inspect equipment. So already, those that submit to say, me, I'm going to hire, already know. Okay, great, thanks. Yeah.
Let's keep the next one to the next one. All right, so establish bidding requirements, right? So we've prepared the documents, we've investigated the company so far as by what's going to be the bidding requirement, right? So first, define a submission requirement. So technical proposal and financial proposal. So you need to prove me that your equipment is in shape, right? And also you need to prove me that, and then also you have to give me a financial proposal that is viable for me, right? So determine bid security amount, all right?
Yeah, don't accept pay me 100% upfront. Like that is just, some people do somehow accept that and then they just disappear off with it and you just go, where's my borehole? So as in, this is trying to prevent that.
Establish clarification procedures, set bids validity periods, create evaluation criteria, and set clear questions and answer and define processes, right? So All these 6 steps, you need to follow it to establish the bidding requirement, right? If they don't accomplish with any of these ones, then they're not viable for your project. Do you have questions over here? Comments?
Hopefully this is pretty straightforward, where we're not trying to make it as obvious as possible, but this is the bare requirements that you want to do to ensure that you don't miss out on anything and you don't get in trouble for anything either.
I've got the case one time that we requested for specific dimension and depth, right? And then one of the bidders, so for instance, I asked for 14 3/4 inch bit, and then they send the bit with a 10-inch bit. So he was like immediately disqualified from the whole process. He couldn't move forward to the next step, for instance. And it's because I asked for a specific technical requirement, and they weren't able to follow it, even in the bit. So, and then comes to finalize the invitation to bid. You call the companies at different times. You don't want to have them all at once in the same room. All right, so come to the office at 8:30, and then you hand them, the invitation letter and the full package. It could be 20 pages, 50 pages, whatever it requires for your project, right? All pre-qualified bidders needs to have identical info and at the same time. So you want it to be fair for everyone, even for you, right? If you give different information to the different companies, they're going to give you different bids, right? And you're not going to be able to do a clear, selection. So always provide the same information to everyone, so they have the same opportunities to bid on your project, and then allowed enough time for them to send the bid and prepare the bid, and then optional site visit. This is really important, right? If you can set a time for them to visit the location or the lot, only the drilling company knows the capability of their equipment, right? This is really common and important. I can send you the GPS location. You can see in the map that you're going to get there in 2 hours, but you don't know the road conditions, right? And I, as a private, I don't know what's the requirement of the road for your equipment. If it's wide enough, if it's tall enough, whatever it is. So always, if you have the time, do a site visit with the drilling company. So key takeaways and common pitfalls. Takeaways, clear scopes, specs, and contract terms up front to prevent dispute letters. Then choose the lower price automatically. Not always the lower price is the best bid, right? You should always, and actually, lowest price always should be a red flag for you, right? Because that means that they're gonna cut corners. You have to be realistic, right? You have to be realistic. I mean, if all the consumables that they're gonna use, casing and all that, sum up $10,000 and then they bid for $11,000, they're not only gonna make $1,000 out of one project. That's not realistic. That means that they're gonna cut corners to lower the price and get the most profit out of it, right? So that would be a common pitfall, right? Pre-qualification exists to filter out contractors who can actually deliver. You have to be really strict with this. So accepting generic reference letters instead of calling and asking specific questions, that will be a huge pitfall for you as well. Um, verify everything. Call references, visit site, physically inspect the equipment. Skipping the equipment inventory checklist before pre-mobilization or mobilization, it's a huge pitfall for you. Uh, always, as I told you, milestone-based payment, right? Never negotiate in advance if a milestone has not been accomplished, right? And every bidder must receive identical information, right? And never give a benefit to anyone because it could like be misunderstood.
You don't want to show favoritism for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully this has been a good insight into the pre-bidding side of it before looking into Unit 4, where you are trying to, make sure that that company is qualified to be able to do it, because at your end goal as the management side is you want to make sure you have the most successful borehole that you can. And the way to do that is, I think probably the most important word from this is due diligence. As John Aguma, you were saying, you want to make sure that everything is obvious, you can check, you can qualify, you can confirm, so that this stays as successful as possible. Make sure that there's no confusion whatsoever, in order to just have that project running as smoothly as possible. Hopefully this has been a good key takeaway for this past hour, and hopefully has explained Unit 3 a bit better if someone had any questions about that. And we talked a little bit about some of the other stuff that we just brought up. And please do check out the company profile document that Fadzai shared with us last week. It's now on the course website in documents, which might help you when looking at other drilling companies and seeing what their capabilities are as well. Any final questions, comments, concerns? Great, thanks. If not, we'll hang around for the next 5 minutes. If anyone wants to bring up anything, but if not, you guys are more than welcome to carry on with your day. Thanks, guys.
Okay, maybe before you go, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Very well.
Yes, maybe something that maybe we need to be cautious of. I think in the second, third slide, whereby you talk of advance.
That one?
Yes, exactly. So advance on signing plus schedule of works. That one, you really need to be very tricky, because really, it is really important that once a company start doing work, you really don't want them to have cash flow challenge you give them. But it is also, you need to be very careful with this, because sometimes companies, they receive the money and they don't, use the money. They don't inject the money in your project. So for me, I would rather prefer, I know this is generic, I would rather prefer maybe if you have completed work, say to 30 or 40% or 20%, then we pay you for that, than giving, an express, a 10% advance. I'm not saying that, it doesn't work, but also this one need to be treated with actually caution, because we have several unscrupulous, companies around, much as you have done due diligence, but they'll get your money still, they inject it in other projects, not in your project. And at the end of the day, your work stalled.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, John. In fact, I had a comment here to say, how different is this to a measurable one, where they have done work up to a certain percentage, then they'll give you a certificate and you pay for that, and they'll continue. They'll do a work, they'll present a certificate and you pay for that. So I was a bit confused. How do I marry that arrangement with this one?
Sorry, say again, Joseph. So if you have a certificate.
No, he was saying, yes, come again, Joseph.
Yes, the same, John. Yes, yeah. Once the contractor has done some work, he's supposed to provide maybe an invoice, which we can say a certificate. I've said, well, this is what I've done. And you endorse, okay, we're paying you based on this amount of work that you've done, and they'll go to continue the work. So I was a bit confused. How do I marry that approach with this one? You're giving them,
Yeah,
a
so
staggered, already prescribed milestones.
yeah, so for example, if you've agreed that um, after 18 meters of drilling, so 60 feet, you're going to agree on something, or maybe it's, I don't know, 50 meters or 60 meters, depending on what you've agreed with them. You can't just do it based off of the drilling contractor said, yeah, I've drilled 60 meters. You would normally have a drilling supervisor there or someone else confirming a amount of drill string, the rods going in, to confirm what the length of it is. So yes, I've checked that X amount of rods have gone in. This equates to 200 feet or something. We can proceed on with the next payment. You can't do it just based off the word of the drilling contractor, because then some will 100% try and cut corners being like, yeah, I've drilled, we use feet here, I've drilled 400 feet, and then you've taken their word, but then you've gone to like do some tests, and then you've put in your depth meter and it's only 350. So they've cut you short by 50 feet. So they've actually not done the depth that you've done, but then you've ended up paying them. So that's why you want to check with the drilling supervisor who's there making sure that this is the proper depth that they've done.
Once you just start a drilling project, you should have a supervisor from day one to the very last day of the drilling process. So from day one, from whatever time they begin to whatever time they end, to make sure that they are doing everything according to the contract. If you don't have a supervisor, there's no one to verify any of that. So why is it different a normal construction project than a borehole drilling? A normal construction project, you can see at the advance, you can visually see it. But drilling a hole, you don't know what they did during the day if you show up at the end of the day.
Yeah, John, okay,
Okay, thank you. If I've understood Joseph's question well, he was asking and wanted to strike a balance that if you have an ad measurement contract and you have a lump sum contract, how do you marry the two of saying, you advance 10% advance payment on contract signing? So I think, Joseph, to me, I think this advance payment is normally given for lump sum contract. But for a measurement contract that you have your supervisors on site, we measure, every work that you do, and we pay you, according to the work that you have done. But, for in that way, I think there may be no need for us to give you what? Advance payment immediately on signing the contract, because you have not yet done any work. We shall pay you as you progress, with work until the end, and maybe go line by line, BOQ from each and every line of the BOQ, and pay you according to the work you have done. But for lump sum contract, yes, we can give you 10% advance, though with cautions on that. But on measurement, it may not be possible to give you advance payment immediately after signing contract. Thank you.
Yeah, and then you just have to be careful because it doesn't just stop when that borehole's finished. You also have to do casing development, insulation development, and then final pump testing. So I think that's my only warning sign is it's not just them drilling, it is actually all the other steps after that as well. Hopefully that answers it, Joseph.
Yes, it answers, but now, sorry, asking too many questions.
No,
So,
go for it.
John, but also Douglas and Joa, if it's still admeasurable, where they'll be paid based on the work to be done, is it not still a good practice that you can still give them an advance payment, provided they've given you a guarantee, maybe a bank guarantee, to say, please, we need something to kickstart the work, as we'll be waiting for you to be paying us after we've done some work? Is it not still a good practice? Because, John, you've said if it's admeasurable, no need for advance payment.
I mean, potentially. It depends on your organization because some might need a little bit of help with the capital to,
Yes.
like, pay
Yeah.
for the fuel for the mobilization or something.
Even in the contract, what you could do is they said, what's it called, penalties, right? So if your concern is that they use the money for other projects and they don't start yours on time, so you establish a penalty, right? If you delayed on arriving on the date that we agreed, then we will, you know, fine you with the 10% of the contract sum, for instance, and then that way you will guarantee that they will like fully.
It's tit for tat to that one.
Yeah.
But then I think it is literally down to your company where you could do the advance. Some might completely disagree with it. It is just how you operate with it. Others ask for 25% beforehand and then carry on, and at finishing they'll accept the other 75. Like, it is down to you and your drilling contractor to come up with that. Because if they're the ones that you want to go forward, and then they just go, actually, we don't like this like payment terms, can we chat about that? And you've gone through all the other companies and you're like, actually, this is the one that we want to follow through, then you will have to come somewhere in the middle, where if they want that 10% advance, you will have to chat about it. It isn't this isn't a rule, but you want to be able to come to an agreement of, in a way that both sides of the fence are happy on it.
The important thing is just to tie the payment to progress, right? Otherwise, they'll delay the project, right? And otherwise, they won't like deliver all the deliverables or the goals that you want from them. So just, I mean, you need to be creative on how to do it the best way that favors you and the drilling company that you have, but it has to be tied up to milestones and goals.
John.
Yeah, so like I told you, Joseph, what I was saying, it is actually not cast on stone. It is on a case by case basis. What I was just saying is always be cautious with advance payment. And a measurement contract normally is given in borehole drilling because sometimes you are drilling in an area that is having issues of, water quality, and you would not want to drill to reach be measuring the EC on each and every step as you go, because some other areas, are depending on your region. Of course, let's give an example that, a village that is having issues of water, but they are also, affected with issues of salinity around that area. But there are also specific boreholes that, you have drilled there, and they are also successful, but they don't have issues of salinity. But this one here, you are drilling, you want to, at each and every water strike or at each and every depth, you'd want to measure, the EC of the water that you are getting, such that if you see that the EC as you go down is increasing, then you may need to what? You may need to stop. So in that case, such contract would be good with a measurement contract. But in borehole drilling is always, lump sum contract, and measurement is more on, construction, houses, and, and other things. So it is just on a case by case, basis. And also, like Josh and Douglas said, depends on your organization, how you want to handle it. But always advance payment on, contract after signing, you really need to be cautious with it, such that you don't, lose your money. Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Hopefully that answers that question. We might have to call it there, guys. I just realized it's 9:07. Thank you very much for listening in and contributing to this. And yeah, we hope you guys have a good day.
Yep.
Or evening, depending where you are. Yeah.
See you next week.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
See you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.